episode 48. You are listening to the new Glam Gal Podcast, the podcast where style meets confidence. Conquer the frustration of trying on clothes and learn to dress and love the body you are in. There are no size or weight requirements here. I'm your host, Miss J. Join me, won't you? Hey, Glam Gal, welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to invite you to an exclusive beach party. Now, I know that sounds super fancy, right? And I know that sometimes we get really excited at the thought of going to the beach. It sounds so delicious to be able to sleep where you can hear the ocean in the background. We may even get excited for some swanky pool party at a very nice hotel with cocktails and drinks that are brought to you poolside. And the idea of it is so exciting and so captivating. But then you have to actually get a bathing suit or some type of swimwear or loungewear. And your inner Tallulah wreaks havoc on your brain. So as you prepare for beach season, quote unquote, and you prepare for the inundation of media messages coming to you about what it means to be beach ready, to have a beach body, to have a summer ready beach body, or whatever iteration of this you come across, I want to let you know that there is an imaginary beach party happening, and Miss J is here to prepare you for the one that's going to take place in the real world. I don't want this to be a summer where you hide from the beach, or you hide from a pool, or you hide from any outing that requires you to wear loungewear, beachwear, swimsuits, etc. I don't want you hiding from people. I don't want you hiding from the camera. And of more import, I don't want you to let your Tallulah brain to cause you to isolate and hide. This is a summer where we're going to show up and show out, and it's all going to start with this imaginary beach party, where I'm going to get you ready both mentally, physically, stylishly, and confidently to march into any of these summer parties that are facing you this season. No more hiding, no more terror, no more fear. And it all starts with what we call beach-ready bodies. Now, for a lot of us, this is really fraught with so many meanings. A lot of us have really come to believe that we're only allowed to take up space in the world if our body is a certain size, a certain color, or a certain weight. And I can't tell you how much of life you've missed out on by buying into that idea. Or even in some ways, and I'm sad to say that perhaps I've been guilty of this too, perpetuating these notions in the mean stuff we say to ourselves, under our breath, and about and to the women around us. I'm going to give you an example of this, and this is not to shame you, but I want to show you how something like this can be so insidious and so pervasive that we don't even catch it when we say it. We say things like, just because they make it in your size doesn't mean you can wear it. Just because there's a bathing suit in your size doesn't mean you should wear it or buy it. They don't make that in my size. And then there's all the jokes about not being able to fit into a chair, which for some of us is not a joke, it's a reality. Or the idea of being a beached whale, and you have no idea how many heartbreaking stories I've heard of women being told this or saying this to themselves. So I don't want to walk into this beach-ready body season with a naive stroke that you can just magically put on the right bathing suit and everything's going to be unicorns and daisies and rainbows, because the reality is, for a lot of us, we've been told we're not allowed to take up space on a beach or at a pool party or in the pool. We're not allowed to sit on the lounge chairs, those little white plastic ones that some of my fluffy gals live in dread of. Like, I see you. So I don't want you to think that in my encouraging you to go out and show out, that I'm not recognizing this real struggle that a lot of you face. I see you, boo-boo. You are not alone. And that's why I think it's so important that we have these conversations. So by the time we get to the episode on swimsuits and fitting, and we do a very perky, style-oriented episode, we're grounded in the reality that a lot of our fellow sisters have really adopted the belief that they're not allowed to take up space, and we ourselves perpetuate this notion in the shitty things we say to each other, and about ourselves. Because ultimately, judgment of other gals is really a reflection of how we see ourselves, and I'm going to give you a prime example of this. A lot of times when my gals come to me, they have an upcoming party or an event, and they say things like, I don't want to be the fat girl in the room. I don't want to be the fat girl at the party. I don't want to be the fat girl with a pretty face. I don't want to be the fat mom. I don't want to be the fat lawyer in the room, like as if all lawyers are thin. I mean, I hear it all. Which really means you're going into a room and you're scanning for people that you deem to be fatter than you, less stylish than you, uglier than you, fill in the adjective. You're literally judging the room so that you get to decide based upon who's in that room whether you're going to feel okay about yourself entering that room. And that's the heart of the problem I want to get to this week. We all have judgments that we carry about others. That's not really what I'm talking about. That's part of the natural state of human being. We scan the room to check for danger. But it's not dangerous to enter a room where you're just scanning to see if somebody's fatter than you. The only real danger in that situation are the thoughts you're thinking about yourself and the other gals in the room. They're insidious little sneaky thoughts. And you're like, well, I'm actually thinking about other people. But nay, my darling glam gal. That's actually a judgment you have about yourself. And I want you to stop scanning the room to decide if you're allowed to be there based upon whether you deem someone else to be uglier or fatter than you. What if, and this is really the mindset homework, your mission, should you choose to accept it this week, is what if you went into a room and you didn't scan the room? You didn't put on those goggles to prejudge whether you're allowed to be in the room. You didn't put on those goggles to search for the fattest person. You didn't put on those goggles to search for the skinniest person so you know who to hate. You didn't put on those goggles to see who has the best handbag so you know who to envy. You don't step into the room and put on those goggles of who's ugliest, who's fattest, who's oldest, so that you're allowed to take up space if there's someone who's less appealing in the room than you. Those are all your perceptions about yourself. It's your own judgment. It's like you've already marked a 1 on your forehead and you're just looking around to see if there's any zeros in the room. You're walking in with so much judgment of yourself. And I can promise you from experience and from the clients that I coach, even if you were to find a quote unquote perceived 0, you feel like shiz about yourself because you'll always come back to the thought that you marked or ranked a number 1 as opposed to a 10, whatever that means. It's never about who else is in the room. It's always about your own judgments and thoughts about yourself. If you learn nothing else from this podcast, you will know that we could slap the cutest outfit on you, the sweetest little swimsuit. But if you are still walking around with a red marker 1 on your forehead that you place there yourself, that's where the real work lies. The makeover that has to happen in your mind first, the clothing will follow. So, my darling glam gal, before we set off to this fabulous beach party, before we talk about all the sweet little swimsuits you're going to wear, before we talk about all those swanky little lounge cover-ups that you can find, before we talk about even vintage beachwear, which I am so excited to discuss with you, it's one of my favorite topics, I want you to get your mind right. I want you to straighten out those thoughts. I want you to take off those judgment goggles. I want you to wear a fabulous pair of sunglasses, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about erasing that 1 that you put in red lipstick on your forehead, that you take away that lens in which you view yourself and others, and you just practice walking into a room without scanning it or judging it, and just allowing yourself the idea that you're allowed to take up space just like all the other humans. You belong at the party, you belong at the beach, you belong at the pool. Let's start there, because being able to own the space that you live in and then own a room, that is so fabulous. I don't care what you're wearing. If you can pull off that kind of charisma and confidence, that's everything. At that point, I mean, the swimsuit doesn't even matter almost. Well, it kind of does. It's just like the little, cherry on top. But you are always the key. You wear the clothes don't wear you, and that's so important to know. On top of your mindset mission, your style homework this week is to walk into a room without scanning and to really engage with someone in the room. I know some of you, I could feel like your actual heart sink into your stomach because you're like, how is this style homework? I thought I was going to get a new lipstick. What's happening? I want you to start practicing actually owning the space that you're in. Because if we're going to dress that body in which you reside, we need you to fully own it in all its gloriousness. And one of the first steps to doing that is not only to stop scanning the room when you enter it, but to fully adopt the idea and the persona that you belong in that room. You are allowed to take up space. I mean, chin up, my darling. Stomach in, not because you're trying to hide your stomach, but you're trying to support your back and your breath. Shoulders down, like a whole string is holding up your body from the bottom of your solar plexus all the way to the tippy tip top of your head. You are owning that space. You are owning that body. You're owning the space that your body is taking up. That is so incredibly stylish. It is the foundation. Even more foundational than good pair of undies, which you know I love. So to recap, my darling Glam Gal, your mission this week, should you choose to accept it, is to walk into a room without scanning it, to fully own that you're allowed to be in that space, to fully own the body that you are in, and then stay tuned, because we are going to talk all things summer style. I'm going to get you ready to show up and show out. If you're really stuck on this body image work and wrapping your brain around owning the body you're in and being allowed to take up space, I want you to reach out to me at coach@judithgaton.com. Let's get you coached. Let's get your mindset ready. Let's get you ready to go out and glam up, my darling. If you know anyone who needs to hear this podcast episode, please feel free to share it. Give us a review on iTunes so other glam gals can find us. All right, let's get it. Miss J out.